Hey there, comic book fans. I am back from the comic shop again this week, and it was only a 5 comic week for me. Well, not quite, since I got a whole bunch of free 25-cent comics, but I'll show you those at the end, because they're all the same thing for me drawn on. But the first one I got here is Richard Corbin, Shadows on the Grave, issue 3 of 5, I think it is. Let's see, does it say inside? I know I read that somewhere. But this is the one that's made up of short stories, so there's short 8-page stories, and then a longer continued story that's kind of about ancient Greece. In the back here, where there's a hero who has to go face a cyclops, and there's, sort of local politics going on. Here's one of the scary stories. Enjoyable. It's kind of like the short 8-page stories are a throwback to Corbin's early creepy and eerie work, and they're pretty good. But I kind of like the longer story better. But I'm just not used to short stories anymore either. They're just kind of over in 8 pages, and you're like, huh? We don't do that anymore. But they're still well done, well drawn. I'm down with anything Richard Corbin does, so I'll enjoy Shadows in the Grave for the next few issues. And look at this, a new issue of Copperhead. Number 11 is out. This has been gone for I don't even know how long. But here's an example of, unlike, what were those 2 books that I'm not getting anymore? Rat Queens and, that Aftershock book. The name just flew out of my head. That relaunched. Copperhead didn't relaunch, so it's still on my pull list, so I don't even have to think about getting it. They got a new artist on it. Stuff looks pretty good. Who is it? Drew Moss, Ron Riley in the colors, and who was that on the letters? Thomas Maurer. But yeah, new art looks good. And since they didn't relaunch and it's still on my pull list, I don't even have to think about getting the new issue and trying it out. I will automatically. She's a sheriff on some small, mining planet somewhere after some big war happened. See, is there a back cover? Copperhead 12. There's the back cover. It's sort of a space western. Good stuff. She's new to the town, trying to fit in, trying to do her job, and of course there's bad guys who don't want her to do her job. But anyway, Copperhead's back, issue number 11. Give it a read if you never have. And here we have Planetoid Praxis, number 2. The second Planetoid miniseries. The original Planetoid miniseries came out a few years ago and was pretty cool. And I liked the first issue of this. Ooh, look, good disaster buildings. Planetoid is a planet/planetoid that if a spaceship lands on it, the spaceship crashes on it because it somehow messes with ships, and they crash there. And the whole first series is about this guy crashing there and then, trying to figure out his life and whatever. And he eventually managed to escape. So this is now the first issue of Planetoid Praxis. Let's see, someone new landed on the planet and their ship worked. But they went to try to find the locals, who are some of our characters from the last series. They went to find the locals, and it turns out the guy whose ship worked and could get out on and off the planet turned out to be from some race in the galaxy that was really, really bad. So the people the people who have been trying to form a civilization on the planet didn't like him and ended up killing this guy, even though he was kind of like, I'm just here to study stuff. There's sort of a space western post-apocalyptic theme in this one too. So they killed that guy, and then they went to try and see what salvage stuff from his ship, and they're kind of like, gee, what if more of those guys, evil guys, come here, even though that guy wasn't particularly evil. And that's where the first issue left off. I enjoyed it. Pardon me. I liked the first issue a lot, and I'll be sticking with this. I'm not sure if this is another mini or continuing, but either way, I'm buying it, enjoying it. Planetoid Praxis. And next, we have The Wicked and the Divine, issue 27. This is a bad idea. Baphomet. This is turned into an action book as the Great Darkness has Oh, there it is. The Great Darkness is just kind of this monster, this shapeless monster that takes any form, sort of thing. Looks like a giant insect shadow thing, and it's there to. It turns out these gods are here to fight the Great Darkness, or maybe not. They took a vote last issue, and some of the gods want to do research. Some want to go and fight the Great Darkness, and kill it, and some want to just party. So those are our three factions of gods out there. Phased. January to February 2015. So, it's taking some time here. Oh, traveling by lightning. But, it's like I said, if you didn't like the slowness of The Wicked and the Divine in the beginning, give it another try, because it has speeded up into an action book, if that's your sort of thing. I liked it at the beginning. I like it now. So, it's a good book. Give it a read. And next we have a new book to my pull list. This is Uber Invasion, issue number 4. I read the first 3 digitally, and I think it was Rob Wiseguy who first had this on his list, and I saw it there, and I was always kind of curious about. There was a series before this called Uber, and it's by Kieran Gillen, the writer of the Wicked and the Divine, and Daniel Getty on the art. And the original Uber series, which I haven't read, I don't know how long it ran, 30 or 35 issues, was, I think the basic concept was, what if the Nazis got the bomb first? Except it isn't a bomb, it's superheroes. So the first book was about in World War II, the Nazis invent superheroes and they win the war in Europe. Or at least they're winning the war in Europe. I don't know if they've won it yet, because I haven't read that series. But in this one, they unexpectedly invade the United States with a couple of superheroes. And it's a pretty interesting book. The third issue was all about the destruction of Boston. But they call the strongest superheroes battleships, and then there's tank commanders or something. And like the last issue, the United States is also working on its own superheroes, but it takes time to make them, and they might not have time. So they've got some battleship class superheroes in the pipeline, but they're not ready yet. So they try to use these tank commandos who are like lesser powered superheroes, and they tried to overwhelm one of the big, strong German battleship superheroes with them. But then a second battleship superhero showed up and turned the tide of war. And there's all sorts of intrigue and battlefield tactics. Like, if they had known that second battleship superhero was going to show up, they would have changed plans. But like I said, the Nazis are just trying to knock the United States out of the war now before they can develop their superheroes. So I must say I really enjoyed the first 3 issues. I'm going to have to track them down physically if I can. If anybody's got a line on the first 3 issues of Uber Invasion, you let me know. And yeah, good new book. This took Revival's place on my list since Revival ended last week. Now we've got Uber Invasion to fill that slot. Okay, and last week Cody, I Have Issues, was asking me if I had done any of these Walking Dead covers that I had gotten the 25-cent comics for, and I have been working on some more of them. Here's a few. These are my tank top zombies, I call them. Women in tank tops as messed up zombies. They're my monster faces. This is in my busted brush technique, where I use a decrepit old brush to make monster faces. This is just sort of my strange cartoony woman technique. And these are all wrapped around 25-cent Walking Deads. Here, I'll show you. Let me open one of them. Because I have them bagged and boarded here. What I do is I took those, there we go, 25-cent Walking Deads. There's one of them. Pulled the staples out of them. Wrapped a piece of Bristol board around it. You can see there's the marker on the other side. And then put the staples back through the holes. So made a new cover for the comic. And my shop gave me the 25-cent Walking Deads for free. Matter of fact, I did so many of them, I'm out of them. So I just got more 25-cent Walking Deads. Got some 25-cent Outcasts. Both covers there. Some couple of 25-cent Invincibles. Couple more of that cover of 25-cent Invincible. And even some more 25-cent Walking Deads. So my comic shop just gave me those for free because they've got so many extra from getting the chase covers or whatever it is. They had to buy so many extra of the 25-cent ones so they could sell the alternate covers. So they don't need them. It's like, you want to make art out of them? Go right ahead. So there you go. That's for Cody. He wanted to see if I had been working on these, and I sure have. Matter of fact, I even started making some, I'll have to show you next week, out of Old World's Finest comics, but where I take a panel from the inside and blow it up on the sketch cover. But anyway, there's some Walking Deads for this week, and you guys all have a good time out there.